Thank you for joining us today at Miniature Wargaming Labs. Today I've cracked open my new Orlock Arms Master and Wreckers set to enhance my Orlock game for Necromunda. And in this episode we're going to build this Arms Master. So something I like to do is lay out the instructions. We're going to build Arms Master number 1 because he's got the super cool hammer lying there. And now in the set you get 2 identical frames, but we're just going to work with 1 frame because all the pieces you need are on this frame. So what we're going to do is, you can see everything is numbered, and you see there's his torso. We're going to take our clippers, we're going to make sure they're nice and sharp. We're going to take the flat edge of our clippers, place it against the model and snip gently, and we put the flat edge and we snip gently, and we want it sharp to prevent the plastic on the sprue gate from mushrooming. That creates this ugly little deformation in the plastic, which could show up in your paint job. Then what we're going to do is we're going to lay the bit we're doing on top, and as we go through, I'm just going to do the whole miniature since it's all on one page, and I'm just going to go find all the bits and I'm going to lay them down on where they correspond to the miniature. So we're going to go around, clip out all the bits we need. Alright, so I clipped off all the bits I needed. I laid them out. Oh, forgot the little base. Happy to get this base. This is the base. There was a point you couldn't find a lot of these. The one with the skull in the floor, like that one, especially with my Orlock. Alright, so now we're going to clean up these bits. And especially important is to take an X-Acto blade and don't cut towards yourself as I am doing. And we're going to shear off the last little piece of that sprue gate. And the reason we do that is Necromunda bits, and what screwed up most new assemblers is these things are machined to a very high tolerance. So they do not like anything getting in the way of their fit. And there's a lot of little tiny pieces that normally go into Necromunda models. Now that makes them look great when you're done. They can paint up beautifully with all the detail, but they can be a pain to assemble. And once you start stacking errors on your model, the end result doesn't look great. So something I like to do, and might not always be necessary, but I like to do it anyway, is take my little file and just run down the edge there, and remove that mold line, or you can just run the flat of your X-Acto down. Games Workshop sells a specific tool to do that, but I just have multiple X-Acto blades of various sharpness that I normally use to do that part. So we're going to go around and clean up all these little bits. Now we've finished cleaning up the model, we're going to start assembling. And something I like to do is I'm just going to dry fit that. That looks right. And fit together nice and tight. And so I'm just going to put a little run of glue here. And I put enough there so it squeezes out through the joint, and I'm using plastic glue, so hopefully when it squeezes out through the joint it'll hide some of that seam line there. Alright, while squeezing that together, let's go ahead and start putting on these other bits. Now since this is plastic glue, you can put the bit on, and it starts sticking right away. Super glue you normally have to hold into place. I like plastic glue because it gives me a little play, because it takes longer to set. And that's advantageous because if you mess up, because some of these Necromunda models require like 3 bits to fit at 3 different access points at the same time. And so you got to pull them all at once and kind of juggle them into place. This model isn't one of those, but that also means you have to be careful as you glue something together. You don't want to bump a piece nearby. See, on this piece we're just putting the ones where it actually attaches to the model. There, start getting his exo frame together. And now, since I just did the shoulder pads and the legs, I'm not going to do the arms just yet. I'm going to let those shoulder pads set for a little bit longer. But, I can do this little spinal adaptation, which is actually pretty cool looking. There we go. So, let that one go. So here you can see there's his shoulder bit. That will fit right in there. So just use a light touch when you're gripping this model, and make sure you have not too many fingers in play. Then we'll start bumping things out. We'll do the next arm. And this is actually a good thing to point out here. So you see that you got the left arm, the right arm, they're both in place. Now the good point about having plastic glue is that if I messed up placing the arms, I can still squeeze it around to get this hammer in place. Now be gentle about pushing the hammer into place because that might knock the arms out of the way. Now that I've got his weapon system up, I like to save the head for last. And that's because I like to control where he's looking. So we'll go ahead and I'll give him jaunty little look. I'll have him looking off here where he's walking. Excellent. Now let's talk about how you sight your guy on your base. I like that skull detail, so I'm going to leave that exposed. And this is not a perfectly flush surface, and you only have little tiny points of contact. So I'm going to make sure that as much of this plastic touches that plastic when I'm mounting it. And I also want to make sure that as much of the model fits within the circle as possible for when I'm putting it in its case. I don't want them over here because I have like a little rectangle in my travel case, and it's got to fit in that as tight a frame as possible. So we want as much to fit over so we can look down, pivoting. So looks like the feet are actually pretty well placed to go right there. And we'll put him there. And since one foot's kind of cocked up from the ground, come on you. See, I can misplace my finger, feel his head wobble. Oop, almost pumped the power fist. Make sure everything's aligned, and there we go. That's actually probably one of the best detailed models, and it went together quickly. A lot less work than those Escher ones. Alright, beautiful little Mad Max sculpt. So our guy's ready, everything's in place, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set him down. Don't touch him. Make sure he gets enough time to set in place, and the plastic glue will start fusing different parts of plastic together, and then we can prime him up and paint him. Alright, thank you for joining us at Miniature Wargaming Labs, and we'll see you next time.